Hello everyone, Idris here. Welcome to today's video on our Maven Pizza Challenge series. In previous sessions, we started with business and data understanding, of course, and we moved to the ETL extraction, transformation, and loading of our data into Power BI via Power Query. We also saw data modeling where we joined the tables we joined them together, first identifying their keys, the keys of each table, and then we model the tables together. And so today we'll be looking at DAX calculations and visualization, of course. This is like the very interesting part of the whole process where a lot of people enjoy, and this is where the real analysis is done and you try to come up with things that your end user are definitely going to see, because every other thing we've done so far is just behind the scenes. Now we want to produce what will be visible for our end users to see. And so let's just go over to Power BI and we get started. Before we go to Power BI, I just want to bring this back again. When we started out with these goals after going through the requirements for our analysis, and these goals will actually help us in starting out our DAX calculations. Of course, there will be more stuff to add, but I just want to start with this because this is like the foundation of everything that we want to do, right? So these metrics are what we are going to be calculating now using DAX. So I'm just going to start with orders. I want us to start with orders, and then we'll go over to revenue. Power BI now. So now we're here in Power BI, and before we start creating our measures, there's something I do. Instead of creating my measures inside of my tables, I create a dedicated table for measures, just for measures. That is what I do, and I recommend, because it makes you searching for your measures really easy. Imagine you have a lot of tables and then you have your measures inside of them. You have to start toggling on and off. But with a dedicated measures table, it makes the whole thing easy for you. So I'm just going to show you how to create that first, and then we'll move over to creating our first measure. So to create my measures table, all I need to do, come over here in home, and then come to enter data. So once I click on that, I have this pop-up, and here the name, I can change the name of my table to measures table, for instance. So I'm just going to click on load, and then you can see it here, right? We have it created here with just one colon. Of course, just ignore the colon, we don't need it. It's just that a table has to hold a colon, right? So that's why it's there. So now every measure that we're going to create will be created inside of this table. Okay, so we're going to start with the order, and let's just see how we can get the total number of orders in this data. So first I go over to the order details and the order. So these are the two tables that can give us information about the order. So which are we going to use and how do we use them? So let's investigate. So we recall that this orders table is a dimension table such that it only contains distinct number of orders that we have had, right? So if you really want to know the total number of orders in 2015 that we received, all we just need to do is count the number of orders here. You might also want to do it using this orders details table. Yes, you can, but bear in mind that our order ID here is duplicated because this table broke our orders into the products, right? Into the types of pizza that was bought. So if you are going to be using this table, it will be a different formula from when you use this table, but they are going to give the same result. So I'm just going to stick to these orders to calculate our number of orders. So let's go over to our measures table, and now I click on new measure, and to calculate that, all I need to do is I can call that total orders. That will be the name of my measure. So total order equals to count. I use the count here, and then the column name is order ID, right? I need the order ID from the order table. So I'm just going to bring that in and we see the result. So if I bring that, we have we have 21k orders now, right? So if I try to count the order ID here, let's see what it's going to give us, so you can see what I'm talking about. So if I write orders to, just going to test, equals to count A again of order ID. So if I use order ID from the order details table, I'm going to have this result. And then I try to bring orders to, so I have 49k. So why is that? So the difference again comes from the fact that in our order details table, the orders are duplicated. So when you count, you are repeating an order more than once. So in order to solve that, if you want to use this order details table, all you need to do is, instead of count A, you can use the distinct count. So this way it's going to count duplicate orders as just one. So when I click on my enter, now you can see that we are having the same result. I just wanted to show you that, so I'll be deleting these orders too. We don't need it since we already have our total order. So that's the first measure that we have created, order. Now the second one will be to calculate the revenue, right? So, and revenue of course is the amount that we received per order. So let's take a look at how we can do that in DAX. So now again, we come over here to the table. We now, that's why data understanding is important. It helps us to know which table to use for our calculations. That's why it's very important to familiarize yourself with the data from the start. So if you look at our orders table, we will see that the information we have is just the order ID, nothing and the date. So I don't think we have any information about the pricing. So if you check the order details, this gives a bit of information, but not all. The pizzas table. Now in this pizzas table, I have more information now that can help us with the revenue, because now we have information about price, right? So this tells us the price of each pizza, right, based on the type of the pizza. So all we just need to do is to relate this table now with this order details table, such that I can know the price of each of these pizza types that we have here, right? And of course, one way to do that is to use a calculated column that will be standby here that can give us the price, okay? And how do we do that? So here I'm going to create a calculated column, but bear in mind that to do something like this that we're about to do, it's important that you have modeled your data. You're going to see what I'm talking about when we are done. So in our order details, we want to find the equivalent price of this pizza ID now, right? So we can have the price here instead of having it in a separate table, okay? So in my order details, I will just right click on it and then create a column, new column, not new measure now. We are creating a new column. You might wonder, why are we not creating it in the measures table? No, it is not a measure, it is a column. So we have to use the new column inside of our order details. And what we want to do now is we want to bring over the price, basically, right? So the price of each of these pizza, we want to bring them over here, right? So we can say price equals to, we can use the related function. So related function, what related function does is literally it tries to create a relationship, right? And then brings an equivalent value that represents that row that you are trying to ask for. So I'm going to use related of this my price, right? So I'm just going to call price. So now you can see I have price from pizza table, right? So I can bring it over here and then I click on enter. So once that is done, you can see that it has brought the price that we have from the pizza table here. So using the, of course, the pizza ID. Now, if I try to break the connection between our pizza and other details, if I try to break the connection between them like this, pizza and other details, if I break this connection, you will see that this is giving us an error. So we can't use that function anymore because there is no relationship. So for you to use a related, there has to be a relationship between your two tables. Okay, so I'm just going to add that back. Okay, now we are here. So now what we need to do next is to calculate the price of each of these order details ID. So how much did it cost to order this? How much did it cost to order this? And one way we can get that is by using the quantity and the price, okay? Because all quantity are not just one. If we toggle, we can see that some are actually ordered for. So we had 4 quantity that was ordered for these guys, for instance. So all we need to do is multiply this quantity by the unit price, okay? And so we can get the total price for each of the pizza that we're in each order, right? So again, what I'm going to do now is to calculate another column, okay? This is very manual way of doing this. I can write a measure that can give me all of this together, but again, I believe this is like for beginners basically, so I'm trying to make it as simple as it can get, okay? To do that, I'm just going to create a colon again. So I'm just going to write total price equals to quantity. Now we want to multiply quantity in our order details now by the price, right? So I'm just going to bring that in and then just click on enter. So now I can see that 1 times 12 give us 12 and so on. So you might feel, okay, is it really working? I can just toggle down to where we have 12 with 2, and then 2 times 12 is 24. So that works. So now we have the price for each of the pizza, individual pizza in each order. So in order to calculate the total revenue now, so we can sum this total price up, right? And then we can know the total revenue that was generated across all orders. So we'll go over back to the report view and then try to create a new measure now, right, called total revenue. So I'm just going to call it total revenue equals, so we're going to do sum of the total price, right, from our order details table. Okay, so now once we do that, we can try to bring that in. So we have the total revenue and then bring it as a KPI. So 817.6K. So it looks good, right? So one thing else, because it's revenue, so I recommend that we change this. We can click on the measure itself and then change it from general to currency. So we can have like dollars. So it looks nice now. Okay. All right. So one more thing, again, we'll go back to our business goals. We already calculated revenue, calculated orders. Of course, orders will also be needed for measuring the productivity. We can look at the average order value. What is average order value? It is basically the amount that every customer tends to spend on each order. And the simple calculation to get it is basically the revenue divided by the order. That's all, okay? So very simple calculation. So I'm just going to go over to the measures table again, new measure, and then I'm going to write average order value. I can just write AOV in my, like, it depends, just maybe if you remember. So I'm just, okay, let me just write average order value, because average order value equals, so now it's just going to be the total revenue that we calculated divided by the total order. Okay, so once that is done, I'm just going to bring this to one side here, and then I can bring in my average order value. So we can see here it is 38.31. So this is across all orders in year 2015. So it means on average, customers tend to spend 38.31 on each order. That's what it means, right? So, but maybe not making a lot of sense like this. We might need to break some of these metrics down as per what we add in our goals. You know, we are trying to look at this level of detail now with respect to date, with respect to the pizza type, and so on. So what I like to do again, because we are looking at separate stuffs here, we are looking at orders, we are looking at revenue. So what I like to do is I can like create a new page. I can just duplicate this one, and then I can name the first page orders, and then I can name the next page sales. Of course, we are going to be submitting a one-page dashboard, but I'm just doing this to make the whole calculation easier, and then we can move everything over to one central page. But if you are not submitting like a single dashboard, this is of course the best way to do it, because you will be able to have a separate sheet for orders, a separate sheet for sales, and then you can go into more detail. Okay, so but it's going to be one dashboard, so we're still going to create another page that's going to host everything that we are going to do. I just want us to break it down So now I'm just going to take away revenue from here, and then we can have this by the side. So we're just going to deal with orders alone. So the level of detail for order, of course, we saw it with respect to quarter, with respect to month. So we just try to do that right now. So I'll come over to my orders table. I have information about date, right? So what I can just show you from here, so you're gonna see. So we have like date, we have the quarter, we have the month, and then we have the day. So let us see which quarter had like the highest number of orders and which one had the lowest number of orders. Okay, so all we need to do again is to bring the quarter here. So I'm starting from a higher level now, so quarter, and then we can bring the total orders that we calculated. So once we bring that in, we can see that again the total is still summing to 21k. So maybe I just change this one, the total order here. I can go over to my formatting your visual, and then come to my call out your value, and then change this from auto to none. So that way we can have the whole number, right? Something like this looks good, right? And then I can have like my comma here, so we can have it well formatted. Okay, so now we can see that we're having just exactly the same result. So again, we can do the same thing for month. So I can just bring the month name here, we can see, right? So and then I can bring in my total order. Okay, so this is for month, and then I can do the same thing for day, right? So day name, again, Mondays to Friday, and then I can bring in my total orders. So basically, right, this is this now we are coming somewhere. Okay, so now we can just use charts instead of using these guys. So just start with this one. So we can use because this is time series data now, so we are dealing with time series, so I recommend a line chart, of course. Okay, recommend a line chart so we can see something like this, or you can also use a column chart if you want. So but you know, something like this, but it depends. But personally, most times with my time series, I really love to use a line chart. So this is what we have. Okay, so we can do the same thing for this guy, so we can have this as well, so we can see our quarters. So now you would notice that for our quarters, it is actually not having a name. We just have Q1, Q2, Q3. It's not even Q, it's just 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think we might need to work on that. Let's do that now. So just right click here and go to edit query, right? And we are back here in our Power Query. I told you earlier that we're going to come here a number of times for sure. So we are back, and we are still coming back, I'm sure. So now I'm clicking on date, and I'm adding a new column, date, quarter. So quarter of the year. Oh, we still don't have a name. We don't have anything like quarter name. So what can we do? Well, I'm just going to take that out. We can actually like have Q added to this. So instead of just having one, we can have like Q1, Q2. So there are several ways we can do that, but one way which I want to do now is I'll come over here to add colon again, colon from examples. So I'm just going to click from selection because I'm selecting the quarter colon, right? So I'm just going to click from selection, and then I can write one name here to be name of quarter. Okay, and then we have one here, so I can just bring, instead of one, I can just write something like Q1. Okay, and then the way this works, because it's one of my handy tool in Power Query, especially when I want to create a new column based on a pattern. So once I click on Q1, it's going to look at the pattern here, right? Because we just have one here and I'm adding a Q1 here, it means, okay, maybe I want a Q like before every value that you have here, basically, and that's what it's going to try to do. So instead of just Q, maybe we can have quarter as a full. It makes sense, right? Quarter one, something like that, and we can see. So we just click on OK, and then if you check just to validate for orders, you will see that we have quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, quarter four. Okay, that makes sense. So now we can close and apply, and we have it loaded. And now instead of using quarter as the x-axis, so we can change that to name of quarter. Okay, so now it came in here as a legend, so I'm just going to bring it back to the x-axis. So now it makes sense. So quarter one, quarter three, quarter two, quarter one, quarter four. Okay, And then for this, I'm going to do the same thing, use a line chart. Okay, so yeah, it might look like, well, we are having too many line charts. To be honest, it's okay if you have the right chart than to use the wrong one. Okay, so don't look at how frequent you have used the chart. So far it is the right chart to use. Okay, well, for this, let me just change it to maybe column chart, and we can have a bit different, but line chart is ideal, optimal for it. This is also good anyways, but line chart. So the next thing we have to do is to order the chart, because it doesn't really make sense starting from Q3, Q2, Q1, Q4, right? So we should have it ordered like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, January, February, March, and so on to December. So how do we do that? So I'm just going to come over here to sort. Okay, just click on this and then sort axis. So we want to sort by the name of quarter. So when you sort by the name of quarter, you can see that now it starts from Q4. So now I can go to ascending. So it's going to start from Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. So this was very easy for Power BI to detect, because quarter will be regarded as a string constant in all of them, and then it's going to go to the next one, which is a number. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Will it be the same case for month? Let's find out. So when I click on month and I right click and I say sort axis by month name, we are still not getting what we need to get, right? So even if I go to descending, it's ascending, it's still not, like, it's now sorting it by the name, and this is not what we want. We want January, February, March, April. So how do we make Power BI know that we're actually dealing with months and that it should sort this? So there are several ways to do that, but one that I'm going to show you first now is or the only one I'm going to show you anyway. So now when we're creating, if you remember, we actually created a month name and then the month. That's talking about the number of the month. And then we did the same for day. We created a day name and then the day. So what we're going to do now is we're going to sort this month by this. We're going to let Power BI know that even though this is a string, they have an order, right? And how do we do that? So just click on this month name and then come over here to sort by, right? Under your table tools, month name, it's clicked on month name and then sort by. So I want to sort this month name by month, which is like the month number now, right? So once I click on that, now Power BI knows nothing's gonna happen here, right? But Power BI knows now that this text is not just a text, but they are in order. So if I go over to my table, you can see now that it is ordered, right? January, February, March, April, May, and so on to December. Okay, and then I can do the same for this, because if I try to order this by the day name, it's not going to be ordered. It's going to go alphabetically. So to sort for that as well, I come over here with the data view and then I click on the day name and then sort by colon, and I'm sorting by this day. So once I click on that, oops, oh, we have an error. It says we can't sort the day name colon by day. There can't be more than one value in day for the same value in day name. Wow, do we have more than one value? Let's check. So if I check this day, oops, oh, we can see now that what we actually have is the day of the month, basically. So this is not what we are expecting, because the day we wanted is to be like week, right? Like 7 days. So we just wanted day of the week, not day of the month, because this is like day of the month. So we just need to go over to Power Query to change that. Okay, so we just come again to Power Query. I mean, we would always come over to Power Query, right? So it's something that we should anticipate. So just click on date again, add colon, now date, and I'm coming over to day. So this was actually what we clicked on, which is day, but what we need is day of week, right? So once I click on day of week, now you would see that we only have just 7, right? So now it's like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's fine. You can change that to 1 to 7 if you want, but I would just leave it that way. So now I go back to close and apply again, and we are here. We have a new colon, day of week. So instead of sorting by this day, I'm going to sort by day of week, right? So I'll just click on this again, sort by day of week, and that should be fine and looks good, right? Now once we just sort this, we can see that it's now like Sunday first, and this is the calendar syntax for this. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So makes sense, right? So perfect. So now that we have done these, we can do basically the same thing for the revenue or for the sales. Or I should name this revenue, not sales. So let me name it revenue. I think that will be more, that serves the purpose more. So revenue, and then this order. So the next thing, we can do the same for revenue, right? So just come over here, just take off this order. So we are just left revenue. We can have this just somewhere here, and then we can have a breakdown of the quarters and revenue. Okay, so we have this. Okay, and then we do the same thing for the month name. You can see, and then we have the revenue again. Okay, and then for the day as well, that's the day name. We can have like the total revenue. So again, we're just going to change this chart. Let's click on it. I'm going to change this to a maybe line chart now, this time maybe. So we have it now ordered. We don't need to go through the whole step which we did earlier, so it's just going to be there for us. So quarter one, everything is there, and then this as well. Okay, perfect. We have something like this. Okay, so the next thing now I'm going to do, or we are going to do, is to again create a new sheet for the pizzas, because if we check the goal again, we have to break this down also by the pizza type, category, size, and whatever. So we have gotten to the level of date, right? We've done that both for the orders and revenue. Now we need to do it based on the pizza type and category. So I'm just going to create a new sheet again, a new page, and then name it pizza. You can just call it pizzas. You know, this is one for pizza. And then again, I'm going to bring in the total revenue. Now maybe the total order as well. Just bring them somewhere here. This side will be for order, and the other side will be for revenue. Okay, so we can just bring them here. Now we can just bring in the name of pizza. Now we will be using the pizza table. So I go to pizza types. I can click on the name of the pizza, so we can see all the names of the pizza that we have, right? Okay, so once I bring them there, pretty long list, right? So I can just add the revenue here. So I can see that if I try to sort it in order, we can see that the Thai chicken really made us a lot of money for $3,000. So we can see a strange figure. You can see this like it's not rounded up. So one thing we can do again is to click on total revenue, and then in our formatting, instead of automatic decimal places, so we can just use 2 decimal places. So just increase this to 2. It will be used across board, so that works. So this is pizza. Let's just bring it here like this, and then we can do the same for the category. So the category of pizza are chicken, classic, supreme, veggie, and then again we can bring the total revenue. Okay, so we can just sort this out. Okay, so we have that. Then we're just going to do the same for the order. So since it's like a replica of what we have here, we can just copy this. Just click on this and Ctrl C on your keyboard, and then you can just Ctrl V again, which is to paste it, right? So we have a replica of this. So I'm just going to take up this total revenue here, and then I'm going to add total order. So when we did that, we can see that we have definitely same result here. It means something is wrong. Usually when you have something like this, when you're modeling, it means there is an issue with the relationship. There's a relationship that you expect, but it's not established. Okay, so now let's just try to investigate what's going on. So if I go back to my model view, I can see that I'm trying to bring in my name, and I'm trying to get the total order, which is actually in my orders table. Don't forget, when we were calculating total order, we used this formula, order count of order ID in orders table. So now if you check the flow, you know, I told you also when we're doing the modeling that the data filter context, it flows from the dimensions into the fact table. Okay, so now if you look at this flow, we are coming from name. We want to use name to filter out the count of orders, and here. So we are actually going here because this is where the order ID is. So this is the issue. we are going against the flow. You can see that this is actually meant to flow downward, so you don't have to go upward, and that's what we actually want to do, and that's why we got that error. So two things I think we can do. The first one is to, at the beginning I said we could use the order ID from the orders table as well to calculate the total orders, just that we need to do distinct count instead of just count. We can do that and that will work perfectly. The second thing we can do is to let Power BI know that, okay, yeah, this is, we want to go against the flow basically, right? We want to go against the flow, and what I can do is to just double click on this, and then you can see that the cross filter direction is single. It means Power BI expects that this flows just like this. So I want to change this to both, so that I'm just letting Power BI know that, okay, sometimes I want to come from here. Okay, I want to come from here to this place, so it can actually flow in both directions. So now you can see the arrow has changed. So if I go to my report view, you can see now that we no longer have that error. So that's one way you can solve that. The other, like I said, is to use distinct count of the order ID from order details table. So having done that, we can now do the same thing for category. Again, just Ctrl C to copy, and then Ctrl V to paste. And then you're going to change this to total order instead of total revenue. Okay, so now we can see that classic category actually had the highest number of orders. The classic deluxe pizza actually had total number of orders, and so on. Thai chicken pizza, total revenue, the category as well. So one thing we can also look at here is, if we check the question again, the goal, we are to look at the best selling pizzas, right? In terms of orders and in terms of revenue. So we can go back to Power BI and try to do that. So if I need to get my best selling pizza with respect to revenue, what I can do is, again, just gonna reduce the size here so we can have this space. Okay, so now I can bring in I just want you to see what I'm doing first before I change it to a KPI card. So now I'm just going to bring in the pizza name. Okay, here, this is the pizza name, and then I'm going to bring in the total revenue measure. So once I do that, I have this. Okay, so now what I want to do is to filter this. I don't want all of this result. I want only the result for the top, right? The guy with the highest number of revenue is what I want. So now I can apply a filter. Now I'm just going to drag the name now of the pizza. I'm going to drag it over here to the filter pane, and then instead of basic filtering, I'm just going to change this to top hand. So I need the top one, that's the first pizza. It's going to ask by what. So the first filter by total revenue. Okay, so I'm just going to bring total revenue here and click on apply. So now we can see that we are just left with the Thai chicken pizza. So that's the idea, to get the best selling pizza in terms of revenue, right? So I'm just going to take that out. I just wanted to show you. So now I'm going to bring in a card KPI, because we want to see it as a text, not like as a table, So I'm just going to bring in this card and then bring in all the names of our pizza, but we won't have all the names. We would only have the first name. This is how cards work, because cards can take a lot of variables. I'm just going to bring in my name again. Now take it over to that filter pane and say I don't want, just the same thing we did with the table. I want the first pizza by the total revenue, right? And once I do that, it changes to the Thai chicken pizza. So we can, I think this is pretty big, right? So I can just try to, okay, I just want us to do all of the formatting on other videos. So let me just leave it somewhere here. We know we are seeing the best selling pizza in terms of revenue. The same thing can be done for the worst selling pizza in terms of revenue. We don't have to go through the steps again. I'm just going to click on Ctrl C and Ctrl V to copy and paste this. And then I come over here. Now, instead of top one, I'm going to change this to bottom. So, okay, it's starting from the bottom. So we can see, once we click on apply, that this pizza is actually the lowest in terms of revenue. And we can validate that, because if you check here in our table, we can see indeed Thai chicken pizza is the top. When we scroll down, we can see that the bread carrot pizza is the lowest in terms of revenue, right? So we can do exactly the same thing for, let me just bring it here. I know this is a mess right now, but I just want it all to be done at once. I mean, talking about the format. So I can do the same thing. I can copy this again, paste it here, and then try to, instead of revenue now, I'm gonna just take this out and then bring orders. Okay, and then I'm just gonna add orders here. Oh, not revenue. I'm gonna add orders here, and then I click on apply. So once I do that, you can see now that we have a new name, which is the Classic Deluxe, just exactly what we have here. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing for button. I'm just gonna copy the one for button, and then I'm gonna change this to from total revenue. I'm gonna change it to total order. Okay, so now once I had total order here and I click on apply, I can see again that this same guy is still the lowest in terms of order. And just to verify that, I can scroll down to the bottom and we can see that it was just ordered 480 times. Wow, that's pretty low. Okay, so I think with that we've come to the end of today's video. There's still a number of stuff that we are going to find out, but I think like we're already messing up the canvas. So in the next video we'll just do some formatting and then we can see what other things needs to be added. I really hope you enjoyed this video and see you again in the next session. Thank you. Bye.